there and welcome to another episode of Interama. Today's going to be a very special episode because we are going to be tackling one of the largest builds and sort of the icon of this whole park, which is the Space Tower. Now, I was just thinking of letting this one, just pushing this build for like later on as we were completing, more areas of the park. But, I was just feeling a little bit inspired. I had a few ideas on how to tackle it, and I just decided to give it a go. And man, it looks great. I am so happy with how it came out. It's so detailed. Not only that, I'm making it available on the Steam Workshop right after as a blueprint, so you can basically download this and put it in your parks, but I'll probably talk about that later on during this episode. In the meantime, as we take a look at what the current version or the real life version of the tower looks like on Google Maps, I do want to tell you that I did quite a bit of research on this thing, and I have just, a whole bunch of notes and facts that I'm going to share with you right now. Starting off by just giving you a little bit of the history behind the design and how it was constructed and all the pieces that make this tower what it is. And later on, we're also going to talk about what I'm doing on the time lapse. But I do have a ton of information that I want to just dump on this video right now, and I think many of you really like that. So let's just go ahead. Starting off, this tower was designed and built by the Wagner Bayer company in Austria. I'm probably not pronouncing that name right, but we'll just go with that. And the design started in 1979, and also the construction of certain materials in Austria started right around that year. Those materials were later shipped to Argentina, to Buenos Aires, around 1981, and that's when the construction on site began. It lasted, about a year, so they were pretty much done by 1982. And even though, the park was closed up until 1985, that's when when the tower actually opened to the public for the first time. So in terms of height, the tower is 200 meters tall, or 656 feet, which makes it the seventh tallest man-made structure in South America. At the time of the construction, it was actually, I think it was the highest or the second highest after another big building in Mexico City. But and that doesn't include the top antenna. This is just the structure itself. That's what's 200 meters or 656 feet. Now it has 3 platforms. One sitting at 120 meters or 393 feet. The other one is right adjacent to it. And by the way, these two are right in the middle of the tower. The second one, like I said, it's sitting at 124 meters or 406 feet. And now the third one is at the very top of this tower, sitting around the 176 meter mark or 577 feet. At the very top it was going to be basically an observation deck, and on a clear day from the top of this tower, you can see basically an 80-kilometer radius or 50 miles. Now, in the first and second floors, they're supposed to be, the plan was to build a restaurant, actually a rotating restaurant. They were going to put in the motor from a carousel, which actually they never did, but that was sort of the plan. And also one of the other floors was supposed to be a nightclub. Now, I know the restaurant actually did function for a while. I couldn't find any information on the nightclub, but I'm sure, I assume actually, that it never did work. So when it comes to the actual structure itself, the tower actually sits on 30 pylons, which are 35 meters long, or basically 35 meters underground, or 114 feet. So, it's what's holding the structure up to the 120 meter mark, which is where the first platform is. And from there, there's 6 cables holding, basically pulling from each and one of the 6 corners of the structure, so that the structure basically sits still. Each one of these cables actually pulls about a ton of weight, and the cables are actually connected on all 6 sides, from a distance of 95 meters or 310 feet, from the base of the structure. Basically, this allows the tower to swing when it's windy up to, no more than 57 centimeters or 32 inches. So that's that's like very little swing when the tower, it gets hit by wind. It doesn't sway all that much. Now, when it comes to the inside of it, originally there were 4 elevators planned. Actually, there are 4 elevators inside of the tower. However, only 2 were ever, operational. These elevators, I think, can hold up to 26 passengers, and they can get to the top of the tower in only 55 seconds. So these are some quick elevators. However, if you do want to, climb up the stairs, let's say there's a power outage and you need to basically climb all the way to the top, there's an emergency staircase inside of it that has 1,000 steps and about 45 landings. So, for you to catch your breath. Just to give you an idea of how crazy that is, it takes about an hour to climb, for an average human being. If you're like a crazy, like Iron Man kind of person, it might be easier for you or faster. But for an average human, it takes about an hour to just climb to the top. And mind you, this is in like, there's like no windows inside. It's literally like super dark, and it's a very narrow staircase. So this is definitely not a walk in the park, pun somewhat intended. Finally, the last fact that I want to share with you is the capacity of the tower. It can hold about 1,000 visitors at any given time. So that's pretty impressive. When I read it, it's like, holy crap. This is a big tower. I did visit the tower not so long ago, about 2 years ago, and it's just the views. They're breathtaking. I mean, you can just see the entire city of Buenos Aires, just everything from the suburbs to the downtown. In fact, on a clear day, you can even see the coast of Uruguay, which is on the other side of the Rio de la Plata River, which is one of the widest rivers in the world. So it's kind of an amazing view. I should have gotten some footage back then. I'm definitely gonna go back and get some footage later on. However, I did find some drone clips from from around the tower and even around the park. So if you want to check those out, I'm gonna include some links in the description for you to check out. In fact, there's also another video that I found, which is basically an archive of I think it's like news footage from when the tower is being built. So it's like kind of pixelated, but you can just see the whole structure being put together, which is, pretty interesting, or at least to me it is. Now, talking about what I'm doing on the screen here for a moment, one of the biggest challenges was just working or separating this whole construction into multiple chunks that I could easily manipulate and position in place. At first, I'm not gonna lie to you, this is probably my 3rd attempt at building the tower. The previous 2 attempts didn't work at all. Specifically because I wanted to. So when you create a new building in Planet Coaster, you really can't do 45-degree angle walls, which is a pain in the butt, and it's a really bad limitation that I don't know why it was designed that way. So in order to get around that limitation, what you do is just duplicate the building and then rotate the whole building. But the problem with that is that then manipulating all of this separate buildings together, because they're this, like, for example, this platform that I'm building on right now, that's to me, it's a whole thing. And for the game, it's literally 6 different things. And the fact that you can't, you have to use this multi-select tool, which is really limited. Limited, for example, in the fact that you can't duplicate, a selection, which to me is such a basic feature. But Well, Planet Coaster doesn't like that, so you can't do that, unfortunately. So all that's left to do is just simply select the things, move them in position, and just call it a day. And if you make a mistake, then, well, you have to redo everything pretty much, or just undo several steps in order to fix your problem. Like, for example, right here, if the diameter of that hexagon was wrong, then I would have to like redo the whole thing, which is not a great thing. Now, this little bit that I'm doing right here, I really tried to like find a specific technical information about it, but to me, what it looks like is that these are some sort of wind deflectors, so that they change the patterns of the wind as they pass through the top of this tower. As you can see, it's on each and one of the hexagon sides. There's like this little thing that extrudes from inside out, and I don't know, just decided to include it, not only to make it more realistic, but also because that it actually adds a ton of detail. And right here, I'm working on the third platform, which again, using sort of the same technique, kind of isolating the element from the rest of the tower, creating a basic design, and then, well, duplicating it 6 times right on the floor. I'm using the floor here, by the way, because it's just easier to snap this thing against the floor instead of trying to duplicate and rotate things up in the middle of the tower, especially because it's so tricky to move the camera. You're going to see me struggle with that quite a bit throughout this time lapse, especially trying to get, and I think we're going to get to that in a couple minutes, but basically getting some lights or some detail on the lower parts of these platforms was specifically challenging. So it took me a little while, and I did remove a ton of time-lapse clips of where the camera just like goes crazy. So you're welcome, I guess. And over here, we are working on what I think, I'm actually not 100% sure, that this is the exterior of the control room or the machine room for, that houses all the elevator components, which makes them run. As far as I know, the third platform, the observation deck, was actually never open. And to be honest, from what I'm reading and, after me being there, there isn't that much of a difference in terms of the view that you get from, the top of the tower compared to what you see on the second or the first, platform. So in this case, I think the checkered, red and white design, it's mostly to help, planes see the structure easily during the daytime, because it's a very clear contrast against the blue skies. At night, the tower is lit up by an array of red lights like you would see on any other tall antenna in the middle of the city. But this one I think has one on each of the edges. We're gonna get to that at some point in the time lapse when I do indeed add some lights to this whole thing. I'm not gonna go with a crazy amount of lights. In fact, I shouldn't probably even be talking about lights because we're gonna have a whole segment of that. In the meantime, I'm just positioning that little machine room at the top. I did realize that we had some gaps in between the joints. Not only that, I also realized that the height of this machine room was a little bit too, a bit too small. So I decided to add a few more blocks, to increase the height overall. And while I was at it, and this is related to what I was saying before, having to do all these things in multiple stages instead of being able to quickly and easily do them, with everything in place, it makes things a little bit trickier, but overall it's not a huge deal. What I'm tackling here, by the way, in case you didn't notice, this is the antenna on the top of the tower, which obviously it's painted with the same red and white pattern. And I was trying to use, just narrow it as it gets to the top. I just wanted to make it a little bit narrower. However, in the current version of the tower in real life, there's a crap ton of antennas. I've heard a rumor once that these were like mostly pirate radios, like pirate FM radios. Believe it or not, that's something that's very possible, even though this is like owned by the government and everything. But if you bribe the right person, you can do whatever you want. However, right now, I think it's mostly cell phone antennas that are sitting at the top. And, well, there's some cables that basically hold the top in place. I only added 3 of those using this wire prop right here. And I think it actually came out pretty great, and it just definitely added a little bit of detail. You'll see how everything looks like once I add the big cables that hold the structure from all 6 of the edges of this tower. But this was a bit of a nice first try on how things would look like with those, using that technique. And it was definitely a win. So it's, it was really, really hard positioning the camera so high up that you would not believe how crazy that was. It did take quite a bit of time, just trial and error, just to be able to work comfortably. This is so high up that, by the way, the scale, I haven't mentioned this, but the scale of this tower is actually 1-to-1. Like, I did the math. Each one of these wood panels from Planet Coaster is 4 meters by 4 meters, if I'm not mistaken. So, I did the math, and, the first platform was sitting at 30 units of those types of walls or something like that. So it's pretty accurate. I know it will look massive and incredibly oversized compared to everything, but once we actually build, or at least I hope that once we actually build everything around it, it will look perfect. In fact, you'll see on the outro cinematics that I did a couple of shots, from different points of view across the park, and trust me, it almost looks like what it looks like in real life. I'm so excited about that. We're gonna get some amazing screenshots from this thing. I'm probably gonna be posting quite a few of those on social media, so make sure to follow me on those. And if you don't have a Twitter account or a Facebook account, you can still check it out and see things without registering or anything like that. So going back to the time lapse, what I'm working on right here is the anchor that holds this cable in place, thus holding the whole tower in place. As I said a few moments ago, each and one of these cables pulls about a ton of weight in each direction, and the separation between the anchor and the base is about 95 meters or 310 feet. And sort of the technique that I'm using here is using one of these anchors as the base building. I'm duplicating inside of the same building and just flipping it to the other side. And once I have 2 ends of the same design, all I do is just rotate and duplicate the same building basically 2 more times, thus giving me the 6 different corners of this tower covered or anchored properly by this cable. And of course, right here, just adding the mandatory red lights for planes to be able to see this structure at night. I didn't want to go too crazy. I only added 1 on each and one of the corners, like I said a moment ago, and 1 at the very top. And actually, when it comes to lights, so I hit a bit of a game limitation. You see, these spotlights, I thought they were like really powerful, but when you have a structure that is as tall as this one, it's definitely not as bright as I thought it would be. So I rearrange some of these spotlights in very specific areas to, have a bit of just enough coverage of light in certain spots, and just be able to highlight, the trunk of the tower. Now, what I'm doing here is just tackling the elevator door that will lead people into the upper floors. Now, at the time of this recording, when I was actually building this thing, I was looking for reference photos of the base of this construction, but I couldn't find anything. Obviously, all the people take photos from the tower in general, not necessarily the entrance to it. But I only made one elevator door, but I think there's two of them. So for the time being, I'm just going to leave this one the way it looks now. But if I do find another, more detailed reference photo that shows another elevator door, I will definitely, add it. But that brings me to something else that I want to talk about, which is the fact that this whole building is now in the Steam workshop. This will be, by the way, my first blueprint uploaded ever. So if all goes well, you should check the link in the description as I hopefully publish this into the workshop with great success. The blueprint will include everything that you saw me build so far, obviously without the decorations around it, but all of the anchors, cables, the towers, all the little lights and the cell phone antennas and everything else will be included in the blueprint. So if you do use them, and if you do choose to include this massive, crazy tall construction in your park, please do send some screenshots, because I always love sharing that with the rest of the community. You can do that via Facebook or Twitter or even email. And I really hope it fits well in your park. Now, what I'm working on right here is just the final touches. I didn't have a whole lot of time to detail this whole area. So just a second ago, you saw me add a few trees. And over here, I'm trying to create a bit of a central plaza, which is mostly, cement with a few different patterns of colors. In the real life version, there's a ton of detail that I can't easily replicate with Planet Coaster. However, I did leave some random paths underneath this design so that visitors can actually walk around. So even though we're creating a 100% custom floor, there's still going to be some movement around. To be super honest with you, I'm not 100% sold on this design. I might come back later on and change it a little bit. It looks okay for now. It looks decent for cinematics and screenshots and things, but I might want to come back later and just improve things just a little bit. And with that, it's time to leave this time lapse behind, but don't go anywhere, because in just a few seconds there's going to be some really eye-candy cinematics that you definitely want to check out. In the meantime, I do want to ask you to go click the like button if you enjoy this episode, and if you're new to the channel and haven't already, you might want to consider subscribing as well. That way you're notified immediately after one of my videos comes out. In the description, you're going to find a ton of links, basically links for every single thing I mentioned during this episode, from the drone footage to the archival clips, the construction of this tower, to the Steam workshop where you can get this blueprint in case you want to use it in your parks, and of course a link to the full playlist in case you might have missed an episode. But that's pretty much it. I really have nothing else to say for now, other than to thank you for watching, and really hope to see you in the next one.